Greetings, everyone. My name is Sherrod Cotton, and for a few brief moments on today, I'm going to be talking, discussing, conversing, and interacting with you guys within the form of a short, brief, but very detailed narrative speech. A speech which will center on an area of study, a career field, and a personal interest of mine that has grown quite immensely for some time, and something that I followed quite passionately within my young adult life. And it's nothing other than the mass media industry. But more specifically for today's talk, I'm going to be focusing on a particular subdivision of the mass media industry that's more specific, which is the broadcasting industry. And before I give you guys a full total indication of where I'm going to be talking about with broadcasting, I'm going to first jumpstart our imaginations with a little quote from a man which once declared that broadcasting is easy. You just talk until you feel there is something you have to say. Now, that single quote alone is a very simple, but also a very cogent remark detailing the influence, the impact, and driving force that broadcasting has. As a channel of communication, broadcasting has and it continues to play a role in keeping Americans in sync and engaged with our everyday habits, our interests, our ideas, and even some of our actions. So today, for a few minutes, that's the directional route that I plan to take in discussing broadcasting. I'm going to talk about the world of it fully in any way I can and attempt to remind you of the great power and magnitude that broadcasting has. And I'm going to talk about it in three main points. First, I'm going to talk about it within the light of the two main mediums that at large comprise the broadcast world, which are television and radio. Then I'm going to talk about the fascination and the attractiveness that really continues to keep broadcasting television radio content within light of the American eye. And then finally, I'm going to tell you all about my own personal aspirations to start my own future business, a multimedia business that will at large produce broadcasting content, including film, but not limited to also television and radio. Starting first with our first main point that I've stated, starting with examining and explaining the field of broadcasting. So as some of you may have known already, and something I've kind of said, it's broadcasting media is a single subdivision within the wide orbit of mass media. And in its pure form, broadcasting altogether is, as simply explained, as a delivery process by which employs electronic transmissions or signals to deliver different methods of communication, including video, images, sound, or possibly a combination of all of them. And it's all intended for a certain group of receivers, which can be much more broad. It can be to the masses. Although the field of broadcast media is a broad and has a wide variety of channels, platforms, and whatnot, methods, the two most common groups, the two most common mediums and patents that comprise the broadcast industry, once again, are television and radio. So as some of us may know, when first we're talking about television here, television programming comes from networks and operators, many of which will use frequencies and other electronics to send and receive airwaves, or they'll use the airwaves to transmit both picture and sound to the masses. Radio also works much similarly. It works by way of transmitting electromagnetic waves, according to Georgia State University, which utilize signals to rapidly move and alter currents, which will process into information, which will eventually process into sound. Radio also works by utilizing them rapidly and altering currents that transfer information to much towers and are distributed over the air, for a group of intended listeners. Now that we have some understanding of the two mediums that play a majority role in the broadcasting industry, let's talk into some specifics of the many different fascinating characteristics and attributes that keep Americans in sync with them. So despite the difference in television and radio broadcasting, and despite the fact that both are differentiated by sound and picture, arguably the greatest attribute of television and radio broadcasting are the broad spectrum and the variety of programming that both mediums provide viewers and listeners to interact with, to survey, and critique. The programming on both mediums nationwide is in rich variety, providing several Americans with optional experiences as they wish to enjoy them whenever at their own convenience in real time or at their own personal time. According to research done by FX Networks and the Television Critics Association, there were more than 532 to be exact, active television programs and in 2020, the last year, and the number has and will continue to grow as expected. Further, in the United States, there are 1,775 total stations and about 5,200 cable systems run by 660 operators, reaching 90% of the market. That's according to TechJury from 2021. And more than that, worldwide, there are about 4.23 billion active television watchers. According to statistics, in a study from June of this year, 2020, there were more than, in terms of radio, 15,445 commercial stations in the United States, 5 down from the previous year of 2019, but still more than double the amount in 1970. As documented by MediaTrack Communications in Houston, radio consistently delivers content for all age groups. And with that, 92% of Americans age 18 and older listen to radio every week. Staying on variety, the activity of television watching allows audiences to stay in tune with several kinds of different programming genres, from comedy to dramas to talk, live sports, news, reality, and much more, drama being the most in demand. Same with radio. It allows audiences to tune into several genres of programming specifically for that medium, including talk, music, sports, and more. Many at all times during the day, country music is the most common format for radio format, within recent years. But extending more beyond that, another splendid characteristic of broadcasting in both television and radio is its expansion into beyond traditional operation, beyond the golden ages of both patents. With the explosive and unprecedented changes in technology this past century, the avenues of opportunity are incredible and quite frankly unpredictable for broadcasting. For media, with the rise of the internet and online, the universe, television and radio content produced by major networks and stations have adopted into the practice, of making their content available on demand in the online universe by streaming applications, which we all have seen an explosive trend in these past few years. And that's another magnificent outlook on the variety of content available in the wide orbit of broadcasting. All right, now that we've talked about the industry in some length and its attributes, let me tell you a little bit about my personal aspirations. My aspirations are to start a multimedia business that will at large produce broadcasting content. It will create, produce, and distribute my own television and radio content. And since my early college years, I have developed such a passion for the mass media industry as a whole. And thus, it has dawned upon me that I do hope in the future to start my own business that will produce news, entertainment, and educational content on a variety of mediums, but not limited to broadcast. I'm currently in the major stage of industrial research of all the fields of media I want to be active and participate in, and am in nonstop pursuit to gain experience in different fields of the broadcast media. And so far, it has been somewhat rewarding. Right now, my most active role is an intern at a local broadcast station, and I will look to incorporate some of the newfound knowledge and things that I learn within my own future endeavors. However, I know fully that I have a long way to go, but with hard work, hopefully I will eventually climb the somewhat success to my journey. It's a climb on a mountain that will be rewarding whenever I reach my summit. Well, everyone, that concludes my presentation about broadcasting, my narrative speech. I hope you have all enjoyed and have been enlightened by the topic of broadcast. Just to review once again, we've talked about the two main components of broadcasting, which comprise the industry at large, the profound attributes of it, and lastly, my hopeful journey. I hope you have all gained a new perspective and insight and have been intrigued by the topic brought forth today. And hopefully the next time you surf through your on-demand television library or power on one of your favorite radio stations or podcasts, you'll reflect and appreciate the advent that it is today. Thank you all.